As you could tell, I just got through running across the cornfields with my dogs to come over here on a Saturday and say hi to everybody. So I'll get better at this. We'll get higher quality in the editing room because I do all my own production too. Anyway, again, love you guys. Go say hi to somebody. Just wave at somebody. Start there. Just wave at some people. Younger people, older people. I did that backwards, didn't I? Younger people, older people. Just go out and say hi. Let's start. There was a hashtag that Barbie wants to get started. I'll have to look that up. I'll have to look through some of the old films. We need to be pulling together and discussing these items, and not be afraid to have a dinner. What do they call it? Table dinner, or around the dinner table. Politics is a device to keep this country moving forward. I know that all the people in the middle class want this country to keep moving forward. I also know that the politicians we have currently in place on both sides of the aisle, some way more than others, but we have a situation now where the politicians don't want us to necessarily move forward. They want, and our education and our information to be lower and lower so that they can control and control more. They have very perfect lives, really. And these are the things we don't understand. You know, we need to really be able to have the courage and have the patience to be looking at our politicians more directly, with more information. As I've said before, we have a utopia coming, and if we don't have control over our politicians, as that utopia comes, then we won't have that utopia. We will be moved into whatever needs that the country has, without the rewards. This middle class of America has been stronger and done more than my own. I know I'm biased, but than any other. As a matter of fact, all the middle classes, around the world, is what the economy is built on, and we have no say at how that money is spent. Love that tune. Playing around with different. Hey, by the way, looking at that, which is dated, it's a little bit dated, but if you look at that intro, wow, we got some people kicking in right away. Hey, everybody, how you doing? If you look at that intro, and I had run across the cornfields with my dogs. It's back in Chicago. That we were in studio number 2. And in that intro, that cut in that video that we did, and then that cut as one of the intros I used, you saw the sweat, and then you saw the background. It was just this basic blue background. That was studio 2. Studio 3 it starts here in Mangum, and then we upgraded to studio 4, and now we've upgraded to studio 5. I want to point out a couple of things here as we kind of lead up. Hey, folks, everybody, welcome. I'm glad you're coming along. This Regeneration school program is really catching fire. And in addition to the 4 other lanes, which you'll be introduced as soon as my eldest son, Brandon, comes back from Cabo with his mom and his wife and my granddaughter, our granddaughter, everybody's granddaughter in the family, of course. She is. They're all there enjoying their time, their peace. I know they were on yesterday. I hope they're on again today. Say hi if you are, guys. I know Brandon right out of the gate said hi. We've got 51 people already aboard. I just set this up. This is going to be a weekly meeting, coffee and tea time, as we've had before, and it's set up as an open mic. And in that open mic, there's a few suggestions of topics that we want to discuss and kind of highlight to discuss. And then you guys are the bosses. You, the audience, tell us, where the interest falls in. And in this case, I have a feeling it's going to skew a little bit more towards Emma's burgeoning. Is that a right word? Burgeoning, blossoming, exploding. Very interesting, very exciting. I was talking to somebody from Granite yesterday. Was it yesterday? Sunday. Yes, it was yesterday. And they are a teacher up there for the earlier education and works with the principals and so forth. And they have a podcast they just started. So now they're interested in maybe chatting with me. I passed some information along to her last night, again this morning. Hopefully she's on the show, and her friend is also, her friend meaning the principal of the school system up there. A beautiful backdrop, as you were talking about. The baseball players that are out there playing baseball, and over the field, over their shoulders, is that look of the mountains, meaning the quartz mountains, granite mountains. All the statues in all of Oklahoma come from the materials out of that particular mountain area right behind Granite, Oklahoma. So we're already incidentally expanding the Regeneration School program, which the pilot is starting here. We're not there. I say is starting here. We're at 86 people already. Is starting here, and then we'll go and is repeatable and duplicatable and expandable city by city. It's, if you look in the description that I gave at today's show, at the very bottom, our vision, kind of working capital. Talking a lot about that these days. 107 people on now, but we're talking a lot about that these days. So here's kind of the setup. Simon and I met this morning. We're going to meet every Monday morning at this time and then roll right into this show. It'll be he and I, more than likely, moving forward on this show. Just like on Tuesdays, meaning tomorrow, but starting a week from tomorrow, meaning on the 14th, Charlie Kirk's birthday. Is everybody wearing red? I am not getting political here. I'm just passing it on because I think that whole situation is something that also needs to be addressed. So back to the studio. This is our 5th studio, and for now it's the permanent situation. There may be a point where we may need to move beyond the library here. Has just been fantastic. By the way, Mangum Public Library, Joe is the library director. Just awesome programs. We're going to be developing a number of kids activities and opportunities. That's why Studio 4 wasn't good, because it was a home-based studio. And this right here, no, I'm on the wrong. This right, let me cheat. See this right here? So this is a big old fireplace, huge fireplace. This is the whole community center. There's a stage back here. I'll get to that in a second. Right here, you see the stage. You can kind of see the flag there. But baby, that's a baby grand. It's not a grown-up grand. It's a baby grand. But this, going back to this chair right here, that chair right there represents the teenager who has not yet sat down next to us on Saturdays. And we were doing that at 9 for a minute. Now we're going to go at 10 o'clock our time, which is 8 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. We're going to do that at 11:45 our time, which is 9:45 Emma's time. Give her a little bit more time to get dialed in. I think we're going to bring you've seen a character kind of starting to show up on there. We call him Dean the Bean. He might get a little bit more involved in that. I'll tell you more about that later. But Tuesdays, is the beginning of finance, crypto, life hacks. So here we have the school regeneration program, building, giving teens a voice, giving us the ability to build from within, from inside out. And then you add to that Tuesdays, financial side, crypto, everything crypto, AI, business, finance, co-hosted with my son, Brandon Duff. He has a B Money show, as well as you can look him up on YouTube. Go check him out on YouTube. He's got a great following. He does a great service in teaching his generation and younger and older. I mean, he teaches me a bunch of tricks every day. I ain't kidding you. Dads, grandpas, folks with this all over their hair and sideburns and cheeks. Check it out. I mean, you can go right on to his, you can go right on to YouTube and look up BRA. Now, he's always been mad at me because I spelled Brandon with a Y. There's a reason I did that, but it doesn't matter. But he goes professionally by BRANDONDUFF. So Brandon Duff on YouTube. Check him out. He's got a great show over there, constantly showing ways to make money very easily, because he has developed a system that is multiple lanes in earning ratio. So we're going to see what Will has to say here. How can teens join the next Voices at the Table session? Great question. We'll get back to you here in a second. Get that off. Will, thank you. I appreciate you jumping right in, and that's the key to everything that we're doing. So as we develop this, we've put together what we call a C-suite team. Spelled, I know C-suite is typically spelled, but we're spelling it C, capital C, with a space, and then capital S, W-E-E-T, C-suite team. That team includes a number of people. Until everybody agrees, I'm not going to pull it together. But we have an agreement. Look, when I say agreement, I mean a text group that says, yeah, okay, this all looks good. We've got our different places within the filling of the needs within the team, and we'll be getting into all that very shortly. Not necessarily on this show, but what we are doing is we're organizing, and it's actually going pretty quickly. 144 people, 145 people, 146 people. Appreciate you guys diving in and jumping on. The Regeneration School project has really gotten to be something that is, I think, in my opinion, for the first time, I believe has gotten to a point where its stalk and its roots are just barely thick enough to be able to make it the first frost. They're strong enough to have taken root and taken hold. As far as Will, your question here, and it's an awesome question. I don't want to lose any more time in not answering it. How can teens join the next Voices at the Table session? So if you Saturday we had 7,000 this last Saturday. Right now, that's where we are at Teens at the Table. Is a Saturday live stream with Emma Lynn, with Grandpa Rod, Grandpa Rod, and Simon has agreed to also. He was on last week's show, and the reason that we're kind of adding additional, now it's a 3-panel, let's call it, show, because there's been agreements in the direction of how we're headed, and there's a lot of fire. There's a lot of excitement. How many people? 146. Yeah, still have them. But we had, from what I know of, we had over 100 of those, probably a lot more, but just some folks told me that they were told by, and they told them. And remember, I used that Perel, and so on and so on and so, the shampoo commercial. I use that as an example. I will be a guest on a show that I'm also going to live stream. So I'll get those details out a little bit later today. I'll get those out to give everybody enough time. But I am working with a young lady who's actually into the stars, and she's a business coach. And this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I just want to tap through a couple things here. But I'm going to be on her show, and she's going to talk to me about this and discuss, interview, discuss. I don't know what other people call their activities within their show, but I'm kind of excited about it because I'm a guest on this show, and I get to go out to her audience and say, hey, what's going on? Plus, she is set up so that I can stream out to us, our tribe, you guys, us, all of us together. We're going to go out, so we'll be able to see these questions coming through. I got to ask her. I should do that. Set that up early. How we do that? Figure that out. I got to call her after this and figure that out. So back to what we're actually here to talk about. I'm in the process, and we'll be sending out a private chat group of 5 people at this point, 5 people predetermined for being these different spaces within each lane and in what we're doing. As you know, we do the lanes of the Regeneration School Project, mental health, technology, and business. And then in the technology and business sector, we're also adding life hacks, how to grow your own food, what to do. Ronaldo's been somebody who's talked about that. Producer Barbie has been somebody who's been so influential in the show. I'll give you the smaller part first. In the show being in the direction that it is, and we still consult even today. Today meaning yesterday, last night. But bigger than that, and something that she will always be part of is part of the reason that I'm still here today. And that's a story we get into in the mental health aspects, because there is a reason we pay so much attention to the veterans, mental health, and that whole tie-in there. We'll get into that in another discussion. Hey, another person just jumped on. We're at 147. I appreciate that. But how can teens join the next Voices at the Table? We're going to have very shortly more direct answer to your question. For now, for this moment in time, Saturdays is the way for teens to join that Voices at the Table. And we're on our 12th episode. This will be our 13th episode on Saturday, which you can't see it on YouTube yet. I haven't sent out the schedule, but our that episode will now start to be getting more and more direct information. Plus, we're going to start sending out newsletters and links for people to be able to access behind the scenes of what's going on. So questions like Will here, they're going to get information before everybody else does. It's very exciting, some of the things that we're putting together. These are just vague, broad brush comments. 147, 148. Thank you all for coming in. Let's add Faz here. What's the biggest challenge in turning schools into living labs? That's a really timely question. I love this question. The reason I say that, let me adjust my mic. It's bothering me. Get this out of the way. You up there. I don't know if I'm gonna. That should work, right? That looks okay. You already saw the tape. This is the this is the chair that will eventually go away because we'll be side by side. But right now, that's in signifying the first when the teens come and start sitting down next to us. Here's how it's going to be. We're going to be up on the stage, meaning this setup will be moved back about, 40 feet, 50 feet, move back about 50 feet up onto the stage. That stage right there, that piano is on the very edge of one side of the stage, and it goes probably 50 feet across the stage and probably 20 feet back. I don't know, a grand piano with another quarter of a grand piano could fit behind it. So what is that? 12, 15 feet. So we're going to be sitting up there. We're going to have a couple of seats, and then this will be brought back a little bit further, obviously, or maybe we'll have multiple cameras, probably is what we'll do. And then out here where I'm sitting now will be where parents and the next audience members come up, kind of like and we're not setting this up like Charlie Cook, but if you've all seen now, he sat here and then people would come up and talk on a microphone, and then they would have that interaction, and then behind them were the audience members that either were going to be next coming up or just wanted to hear the story or just wanted to be involved. There are right now, I've used this before, so we're on the journey of 1,000 miles. Last week I had made the comment we're on about step 10 or 12 of that. We may be more closer to 20 or 25, maybe 30 steps into that. I mean, pretty soon we may hit our first mile into that step of 1,000 miles. I think by the time the 3-year plan that we have in place now, what that looks like, which I'll get into next Monday. I think Simon and I plan on introducing what that will look like, because the vision is one city, one town, one area at a time, bringing the great middle class back, bringing health to the great middle class, bringing that back, making a strong America by giving voices to those who have not had their ability to, or confidence to be able to express their visions and their voice. What's the biggest challenge in turning schools into living labs? That challenge is the fact that you're dealing with politics. You're dealing with current mentalities. One of the reasons we're here, actually a very big reason of why we're here in Mangum, Oklahoma. The vibe is just awesome. I love it here. That's one thing, because I got a shadow going on. So that shadow. Wow, that looks horrible, doesn't it? Let's see if I'll just bring the damn mic out of the way and bring it over here. That's better. All right, let's loosen up a little bit here. So, the living labs are something that are taking time to develop, and the reason that living labs, Foz, your question is perfectly timed, because the group of 5 C-suite personnel that I referred to earlier is who we are putting together. That is coming together to be able to create those questions being answered. In other words, where are we at? We talked about, let me see, give me a second here. I'm going to pull up an email. I think I can pull this one up. Okay. Yeah, let's kind of go through some of this right now, because I want to give a little bit of background. So I'm going to go over here to camera 4. And in camera 4, I'm going to, come on. I keep promising someday I'm going to get better at this, but so far that's not really the case. I'm going to move this over to here, move that up to there. Why won't you cooperate with me? Yeah, I really don't want all that information there. Let me try it a different way. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to go up to, this is talking about today. For more from Emma, go to this right here. Today's conversation dives deep into the Regeneration School Project and voices around the table. Fresh off from my meeting this morning with Simon, strategy session, and we're talking about the L-EAF lab, what you're talking about right now, where education meets innovation and healing meets action. We will open up questions and provide answers as to where we are in these next steps. So as we are right now, Emma Lynn and additional support will be really leading down the overall IMS, independent media source, as well as specifically to the school regeneration program. The hardest part right now is yet unknown. We do have somebody who runs an entire school district in California, very near where Emma's based out of, as well as producer Barry. They're kind of in between each other. And so that's gotten a very big kick, given us a very big kick. And that comes out of some relationships that we have through this group that we're putting together. There's another group in Texas that Brandon is going to be. They're actually right in Dallas. He's in Prosper, right outside of Dallas, and so we're kind of strategically placing elements in place so that we can start to smoothly and quickly develop this program as it takes hold. Let me pull back out and go to one, back to me, and in that challenge that we're talking about here with Foz is there yet has that to become. Does that make sense? There is yet for that to have become. So the biggest challenge right now is just we're in the operational stages. We're in the development stages. I believe that in less than 1 quarter, so this is the beginning of October, November, December, by the end of this year, I believe we're going to be in that next phase where we have that chair right there filled up. Actually, that chair right there gone, and us up on stage, and 10, 20 people out in the audience, 5, 10. A couple of parents brought their kids. They're eating snacks. We've got a snack room right over there. Actually, we have a full kitchen right over there. So there's some things that I'm insinuating there. But I see 25 chairs set up out here. I see that chair going away with a teenager sitting here next to me, and Emma Lynn right here out with you folks, and our live audience bringing in questions. Very shortly, I'm either going to move in the direction that I'm moving on the radio station that I'm in that I have been in communication with, or I'm going to move on into another radio station because we're not about just hobby doing this. This is going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort. And like you're alluding to here, Foz, there's going to be a lot of challenges. The people on our team can't be a hindrance. And if they're not if they're just, oh, that sounds like a great idea, but it is that and nothing more, that will be an update coming down the road. And I'm going to make that decision pretty darn quick because it's been too long to not have any kind of further action than we already are at. So we'll talk more about on the radio side, because I really want call-ins. I want people here sitting next to us in Mangum and Granite and Wholesome and the other towns around here. We're going after Greer County in a way to make America and the great middle class healthy and great again. To steal a phrase, to steal and paraphrase a phrase. So right now, the labs is something that I know I can get to this. I am going to, how can I do this? Let me flip this up. I really want to be able to talk about the lab, because here's how the lab works. So, we talk about fifth core subject in the school system. I'm not gonna put the 4 on. Take too much time looking for it. You guys always throw me curves and ask me important questions that I'm not necessarily always prepared for. The lab itself is as we talked about on Saturday, looks a little bit like this, or a lot like this. So you're on your phone, you're on your computer, or whatever, you sign into the lab, and you have been given by employers, by companies, they're lower level, but still important issues that they need to have solved. And what you do is you sign into that project, and there's a team or whatever that looks like. So the LEAF lab is sitting there, and part of your class each week, you have different, just like in English, just like in math, just like in science, just like in history, whatever, you have 5 days a week, you have a class, period 2, let's call it, period 6, whatever it is, for that hour and a half, whatever the schools are now. I haven't been in high school in a long time. So in that class period, you sign in just like you do today. I mean, you come home with iPads, that are school sent. However that is, you sign into that lab. In that lab, you have an assignment. And once you've accepted that assignment, if you so choose to do so, and the message doesn't explode in 30 seconds, self-destruct in 30 seconds. What happens is that particular need is logged into as an assignment. You start working on it, and you hit 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you hit on certain things. You have the teachers or the counselors, in that case, you have them answering any initial questions. If there's any help, they're standing back, but you're producing the work, the effort, and so forth. Each of those kids, and there may be a dozen different projects, 2 or 3 kids on those projects, each project, and then you're logging time in it. You're creating the results. You're sending in the quick answers, and then that is a back and forth. Then you have maybe on a Wednesday is the session of period 2 where you review those aspects, make some quick tweaks, and then you go on to the next function on Thursday or Friday. That's really broad brush, but it's the same thing as the teacher assigning an assignment on in your history class to read chapter 9 and do a report on it, or whatever that case may be. In this case, it's broken into much quicker and shorter clips. And in that, the clips are it's like producer Barbie and I were talking last night. And last night we were talking about, she in high school, she had to take if you're on, Barbie, producer Barbie, kick in. I don't know if you are or not, but if you are, kick in, because if I remember right, that business class, she learned how to do a checkbook. She's very good at finances. She's always saved my ass all along a couple of decades, of time. And so in that timing, she had to take this business class because no other what they call electives were available, because nobody wanted to take this class, kind of thing, I guess. But she learned that. She learned how to do a checkbook. She learned how to do finances and different aspects like that, which is a little bit better than, say, the health class that you can option as, where they tell you about mental health. They don't teach you anything, but they point you in directions. And so every one of those just fall a little short. But back to the business one with producer Barbie, that's kind of where we're also talking in this, in that they actually did some of the work and they actually got into it a little bit. Here we're talking about, instead of an elective, it's a core project, or it's a core subject, because in the core subjects, you start at the very beginning of your schooling and you start learning. Kindergarten, you're not learning the same thing about any of these subjects as you. It's not taught the same way. It's taught at the age of a kindergartner. First grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade starts to get a little bit, kind of looks like what it would be like. Fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Now you're in high school and things are really starting to get developed. Here's the thing. When producer Barbie and I were talking about this last night, and she brought this up, and we both brought this up. Well, we both discussed this, in that we made the observation of how good that was. But imagine if you had started that subject back in kindergarten and running through, just like English, Spanish, that's another elective, but English, history, science, and math. Imagine if you were that proficient, let's call it. Not necessarily every student is proficient in the other four by any stretch of the word, but imagine if you were that proficient, and then in high school, you really start taking those next level classes. That's where the E-Lab kicks in. Maybe towards the end, or, as we go, I'd really like to see it kind of dip into middle, or I don't know what they call them. They're different. High schools typically 9, 10, 11, 12. But every school is different. Sometimes it's 8, 9. Let's call middle school 6, 7, and 8. It's not always that way, but let's just say that, whatever that is. I'd like to see it start to really get looking like the program where E-Lab starts to kick in now at this point. And here's why. Because what you're doing, you talk about earning college credits in high school for the advanced classes and so forth. If you're advanced, you can take some college credits. Well, that's awesome. But how about this? What if instead of just college credits, you're taking E-Lab, and now you're getting prepared for college, you're getting more ready for college, you're getting more invested in having the ability to function at a higher level, but you're creating a digital footprint for employers that see how you're able to manage tasks, concepts, working with the team, solving issues, solving problems, being a valued member of a team, and so forth and so on. That's what the E-Lab is. Regeneration School project is at a point where you, as the relay race, right? You hand off to E-Lab, and then there's a whole nother combination with L-EAF that I introduced a little bit. I don't want to get into that because I think right here is a really good space to hover in for now, meaning that we hover in the fact that, let's say kindergarten, we start, here's the thing. Schools teach you how to take tests. Schools do not teach you how to get prepared for life. That's not enough. I'm not taking a sledgehammer to the school system, but let's face it, that's not what they're currently at. And if you look at all the things that have evolved to keep up and improve the human race, the school system has not been one of those. For 50 years, it's probably basically about the same exact kind of system that it has been. And it's not able to justifiably support today's kids. So now I won't even get into the Regeneration School project and in parents, and there's more to this. Let's stay focused in this one lane now for the moment, for this show anyway. And staying with you, Foz, I like digging deep, and you're giving me the shot to do this. The biggest challenge right now is that we don't have it. That's it. I mean, once we get started, because here's what happens. People are actually asking me, look at you guys. People around here are approaching me and saying, hey, how do I get involved? How do I get involved? This needs to be done. We saw several comments last night, including my son, one of them, and it was echoed. The school systems are broken. They don't have, I mean, we hear about school systems. They change the math back and forth, and they change this to the point where entire curriculum books have never been opened. We talk about $44,000 a year to educate a kid in the United States. I educated a kid for $12,000. He got way better. We've got a whole system being set up of homeschool people. So there's going to be a dynamic way to make this develop. There's already alternative schools out there, but what happens there is you're paying out of your pocket beyond the taxes that you pay. So if you're able to afford that, it can be great. But then there's cases like what Emma was talking about last night, or Saturday, sorry. She went to a private school, and that private school, its advertising was a lot better than its results. Let's just put it that way. They very much were lacking in what they were able to provide in comparison to what it was needed. I spent $12,000 a year, just under $12,000. First year was $12,000 and change, and then you get for being there again, you get a little something off. But I educate $12,000 a year compared to $44,000 a year. And that was a private school. So there are great alternative systems out there. Well, why not, though, not need that and produce a better product and be able to bring the cost down of the school system itself? Because if you have when you have that fifth core project or curriculum in the curriculum, that fifth core subject in the curriculum, then you start teaching kids about life, about finances. That what producer Barbie was talking about, that on steroids. And the reason I say on steroids is because now, if she would have been prepared within the Regeneration School project, from years earlier, and had her counselor following her along the way, and mental health, talking about that and meeting those needs if and when they come up. 70% of human beings, let's just say Americans, but it's beyond that. But 70% adults and children, 70% deal with some mental health. So when to start right out of the gate in that level. And then first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth, and then beyond that is finances. The homeschoolers. I know several that homeschool their children, and literally, I've got to bring her back on. Well, I got to talk to her before and make any names or announcement or anything like that. But her children, she never pays for any of their clothes. The mom and dad, they don't pay for any of the clothes or anything. Not because they're obnoxious, but because by the time they were 10, 12, they had their own money. They had their own, and they go out shopping whenever they want because it's their money. They buy this or whatever they want. It's still guided by parents, obviously very involved and great parents who taught them this system. Let me repeat that. Who taught them this system? Let me do that again. Who taught them this system? There are so many reasons to get into living lab type situations, because now we're preparing that. They'll be rolling out their own companies, but they can also have that all. Some people don't want to be entrepreneurs, that fine, but why not get ahead of the line, get at the very front of the line? We're talking all Saturday about how hard it is for children to get work today. Emma, which dials right into this, Emma Lynn, she bakes cakes. I was talking to her last night with her guy, and they were eating. Dean was wolfing one down, making me hungry as hell. She makes cakes, sells them for $6 a piece at school, and makes a few $100 whatever period. She takes out, like she said, she's got to buy the groceries, she's got to do this, but she brings $330 home every period, $330. And so here, you've got that ability. There's an entrepreneurial spirit for sure. Bam, that's an obvious that this living lab and regeneration school project just does nothing but add to it. And it adds to the people around you. Now we're creating one city or one town or one place at a time. We're creating a better human, a more informed human, a more prepared human. And then you add E-Lab into that. And what they're doing is they're creating that. So now they've got a digital footprint. By the time they go into college, they're already, well, first of all, it's going to be easier to get in college, right? You got that digital footprint, but forget about that. You've already got companies coming after you going, who was it? Ronaldo had made a comment. Why don't you volunteer and then you get your name around, and by the time it's time for you to work, then you get that familiarity. Same concept, but bigger. Now let's say that concept, but not volunteering, but let's just use that concept, and you're fixing, along with your team, fixing that issue for ABC company. Then the next class, I don't know how. I've got to work with Simon Moore. We're just kind of, like he said on Saturday, we just started talking about this last Monday. So it's going fast and it's going strong and it's going hard, but it's also brand new. It is an extension to the Regeneration School project. So what's the old saying? Luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So I think we're kind of lucky right now. And Simon and I and the team, or the other three, are teaming up to as the C-suite to get that rolling along. So there'll be more, Foz, about this coming up soon. The James show, they were on Saturday as well. I remember specifically. How can teachers get trained in the Leaf Lab project model? So here that I learned a little bit more about that today. So yeah, that's a very real thing. It's about a 12 to 24 12 week to 24 week program where you get certified at a level within the Leaf Lab model. And so teachers, they have Leaf Lab has been doing this for a long time, and they have a program, teachers teaching teachers, on this program so that it integrates straight in. We want to get rid of all this other funky, weird stuff that schools have been doing in themselves. And we don't want to be one of these, put $1 billion on a Band-Aid and have it be nothing, have it be, just say no to drugs. Hey, Nancy Reagan, love you to death, but it's one of those. It's an example I want to use to say billions of dollars gone towards something that didn't meet its promises, and it was a Band-Aid anyway. It was a slogan. Billions of dollars, built on a slogan. Why don't we spend next to nothing of that? I don't even know if I don't know what the financial aspects are at this point. There will be some, because you've got to have teachers. But here's Doge, and here's the reorganization of the school system, of the school structure. So it could be really perfect timing. But 12 hours, 12 weeks, 24 weeks. It's like 4 hours a week. You're going through a series of courses and processes, and then you have the path. And of course, it's like so we have a C-suite. There's a COO. There's this, and this, and then there is an executive trainer, right? So that executive trainer, just like going through the school regeneration program, there is that piece where you are going through, and you have the counselors that follow you through that period, and so those counselors then work with you, and then the teachers are the recipient of that program, because we've already gotten the child to a point of a level that no one, as President Trump would say, something along the line, like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful, all those descriptions, and it holds true. Can you imagine getting why do I have hold on, guys, okay, I'll figure that out a second, but I just hit my earphones, and it looks like I have another show on somewhere, and it is playing in my ear, and so I need to figure out why I have that going on. Okay. So I don't want to get too distracted by that. I'm just going to battle through it. We're at 53 minutes, so I'm just going to take this off. Whoever can hear me can hear. I'm sure that my sound is just fine, but I do not want to have to battle with myself on sound. So teachers get trained in the LEAF program model by going through a proven and by going through the program where teachers are teaching them the LEAF lab steps. And there's a little bit of time investment. It doesn't cost anything. Here's the thing. That 12-week program, that program does not cost you anything. Does it cost the system anything? At some point in the regeneration, we're going to need to, first we'll have volunteers, but as that becomes more realistic, we're going to have counselors that bring you through the system, bring you through and train you up, so to speak, to learn about yourself, to take personality tests, to take interest tests, to do some of the LEAF problem solving things, and work on mental health, and know what mental health is. Kind of like what health class is now as a high school. I don't know what I hit, but I turned something on, and this headphone set's really advanced, and it's really advanced. And when you do certain things, it actually does those things. Like it'll automatically turn off or stop a video when I take my headsets off. It cuts out the sound, the blue noise in the back, but it also does things like where my hands are always flipping around. And so, oh, geez, I just did it. Yep, I didn't turn anything on. No, that's good. So, that's it. I mean, there we have it, folks. I mean, I don't know what other questions you guys may have at this point, but that's how we get the teachers trained in the program, in the project. And here's how it goes. So I'm not going to get into all the other stuff, but there is a very basic. Your personality is basically completed, developed, whatever the right word is, by the time you're 5, right? I mean, I think that's still I believe that's still the case, and known that is correct. So I don't think you want to do anything before, because you don't really want to influence somebody's personality. I'm not a scientist. Maybe there's people out there that can add to that and help out. But the fact that we have where we are now today is a very exciting moment in where we're going, because it's starting to look like the roots are getting thicker. The stalk is got some girth to it, and it's strong. And life is very exciting. It always is very exciting, but today it's very, very exciting. We're in Mangum, Oklahoma, which is what we were talking about over the weekend with what I was talking about over the weekend with a few people, which is very assertive and very aggressive at making, if a program in school, they're very dedicated to the school structures and systems. And it's a very, I would use the word progressive, because the old definition of progressive was forward thinking, going after it, making sure things are good and doing things the right way. And you're progressive, you're ahead of the curve. Unfortunately, the progressives today have destroyed that definition. And I'm not being one way or the other, but I hate the term progressive now, where I used to very much love it. I mean, look at Progressive Insurance. Do you think that definition works for the insurance company? I don't. I think they hate the fact that their name is called Progressive Insurance now, because the progressive of today, instead of this program, which they all should be out thinking about already, should have already been thinking about. Now, granted, the conservatives, the same thing, but the progressives want you to have kids' story told by trans something things. I'd rather nothing be done than that. And literally, I've seen some social media where they're blocking people, parents, from getting in the room to listen to this happening, because the school systems aren't even telling the parents that's going on. Yeah, that's about as much politics as I'm going to talk about today. And the reason I say that is because, I love you guys being here, man. This is awesome. We're growing well. We still got 144 people. I just popped this up at the last moment. I'm going to make this a regular thing, so you guys will get more advance notice. And because this is insights and straight talk. Insights and straight talk. I'm your host, Rod Duff, and I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.